The process of implementation of reforms. Now let me emphasize over here because there might be some confusion. This is part of the procedure of taking Pakistan out of the grey list. When you authorize a country's removal from the grey list, the second step is, or the first step is that you authorize an on-site technical evaluation, which has been done in this country. The successful completion of FATF action plans and its formal endorsement by FATF means that Pakistan is one step away from exiting the grey list, inshallah. The on-site visit is a procedural requirement. It marks the beginning of the end process that will eventually culminate in the exit of Pakistan from the FATF grey list, inshallah, and hopefully forever. We are closely working with FATF to arrange the on-site visit at mutually convenient dates with a view to conclude the entire process before the October plenary 2022. During our interaction on the sidelines of the FATF plenary, we stressed Pakistan's high-level political commitment to strengthen our AMS-CFT regime and bring it at par with global standards. We have been highlighting complete national consensus, and I cannot emphasize on this enough. And I can assure you that it is this government's commitment that we will take this forward with national consensus, and we will celebrate the national consensus, inshallah. I want to take this opportunity to also stress once again that Pakistan's cooperation with FATF and the international community is grounded in our strategic objective, in our own strategic objective of strengthening our economy and improving its integration with the international financial system. I am confident that with this good news from FATF, it will restore confidence in our economy and will give us a much needed boost, improve investment climate and a robust AML-CFT compliance system. I also want to acknowledge, in fact I really want to emphasize on the tireless efforts of our teams who have really done a tremendous job and burnt the midnight oil in achieving all of these strenuous, difficult, complicated targets. This is indeed a whole of country response, and I think that is something to celebrate. Multiple departments, agencies, both at the federal and provincial levels have contributed to this national cause. It also demonstrates that when we work together, all of country, all of nation, we can achieve sometimes what is considered to be impossible. I also want to say that this is going to be a cross-government effort. I really want to emphasize that because I know a lot of talk has been done about it. This is an effort for the state of Pakistan. Governments will come and go, but Pakistan's consensus and Pakistan's efforts on this, I hope, will continue in stride. I want to convey our gratitude to our international partners and friends for their understanding, for their constant support and cooperation throughout this lengthy, hard-work process. By the grace of Allah, Pakistan is in a position now that it can not only can it sustain its trajectory of reforms well into the future, but also really, and that's what we look forward to, provide guidance and technical support to other countries in this area. We feel we are a little bit ahead of the curve. In fact, we are quite ahead of the curve. We want to sustain that. We want to sustain that place, continue to be ahead of the curve, to remain there. And really be in some ways a model for other countries to follow. I know that we are far ahead within the financial regulatory systems, within CFT legislation, within the AML legislation, within the PAC, within the region, but we're also looking very good when you compare us against international benchmarks. And I'm sure that we will be fully prepared for on-site visit and we will exit the grey list at the earliest, inshallah. With that, I come to the end of my statement, but I want to emphasize over here one thing that we as a nation must remember and respect. That is some issues related to the confidentiality requirements within this. In the past, I want to emphasize this at the very outset. In the past, our urge to share news has harmed us. Okay, so I hope you noticed that we were very, very careful in allowing the plenary to take the decision, to announce the decision, because you can never prejudge. And if any time you try to prejudge and speak before your time, it has always come back to hurt you. So this as a nation, not only as a government, is something that we need to do well in order to complete the start of the end. And this will not be the end, because this will be, inshallah, then a new beginning, where Pakistan is looking towards strengthening its own systems according to its own requirements and get out of the requirements of having to report to others, but continue to report to itself.
Thank you, Madam Minister. I'm here to facilitate the questions and answer session. I already see a lot of interest, and my only request would be, when you pose a question, please identify yourself and please restrict yourself to one question per person so that everyone has a chance. Yes, please.
So here's what problem I should carry out. So Pakistan was given a 27-point agenda in 2018 and another in 2021. As FATF recognized that was unprecedented and a huge burden on a single country to implement two action plans.
Yes, it was quite unprecedented. We were, in fact, the only country which has had two simultaneous action plans to implement. And that's why I said it was tedious, it was arduous, it was difficult, it was technically requirements for cross-agency, cross-institutions. There was legal frameworks to take care of, there were amendments to do, and then there was institutionalization of those amendments of the new laws. Building of structures, building of systems. So really, I think it's too early to celebrate, because I genuinely believe that once, you can't prejudge anything. We have an on-site visit, but we have started the process, as I said. And within that context, yes, we were the only country ever in the history of FATF to go through two simultaneous action plans at the same time, one of 2021 and one of 2018 as well known, which was a total of 34, working points altogether.
So Charles, second row.
मैं पाकिस्तान की जब भी FATF के इजलास में गया तो पाकिस्तान होपफुल होता था कि इस मरतबा हम निकल जाएंगे, लेकिन ये बहुत लॉन्ग जर्नी तय करना पड़ा। तो कौन से की इश्यूज थे या की प्रॉब्लम्स थे जिनकी वजह से ये इतना टाइम लगा, और क्या जैसा हम सुनते हैं यहाँ इस्लामाबाद में बैठ करके फलां मुल्क का इन्फ्लुएंस है, फलां का इन्फ्लुएंस है, क्या कोई पॉलिटिकल इन्फ्लुएंस इस किस्म का था जो हैंडल रहा, या हम कहीं कुछ चीजों में लैग करते थे?
I think at this point in time, we can be positive about our journey. We have the luxury to be positive about our journey. Because give and take, eventually, whatever we did was in Pakistan's interest. It strengthened Pakistan's systems to enable Pakistan to be to be seen and to be also a responsible country, which is, in some ways providing a model of legal framework now to the world. We have always emphasized that factors must remain apolitical and technical and impartial, obviously. This is an emphasis that we have always done at every interaction that we've had, and we would hope that will continue. Vis-a-vis why did it not happen before? This was very intensive process. The action plan was minutely detailed. It required many actions, as I've just explained, at many different levels. So it was obviously time consuming. जहाँ तक आपका सवाल था कि हम हमेशा होते थे, मेरे नज़र में आपको you should be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. And I hope you saw some of that being reflected how this government took this up, because you need to be and this preparation was over the last many years. So we absolutely are willing to share credit with whoever wants a piece of the pie. हम तंगुए देने के लिए भी जा रहे हैं जिनको credit चाहिए. I think this is the battle for Pakistan. This is not a battle for anyone at all.
Second row, Imran.
मोहम्मद इमरान मीटिंग से मैं वो भी आपने कहा कि जो एक डिबेट चल रही है क्रेडिट इस वाले से भी आपने कहा कि जो क्रेडिट लेना चाहता है देने के लिए तैयार है, कंपनी भी देने के लिए तैयार है. तो जब ये सारी लेजिस्लेशन हो रही थी, जब प्रोसेस हो रहा था, उस लेजिस्लेशन के दौरान तो पीडीएम जिसका आप पार्ट से वो बाइकआउट करता रहा, वकूफ करते रहे. तो फिर अब जाकर इसको रियासत का फैसला और रियासत की विक्ट्री डिक्लेयर करेंगे. तो उस वक्त अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं थी कि ये रियासत के लिए बहुत जरूरी है इस लेजिस्लेशन को पास करना.
नहीं, देखिए वो ही लेजिस्लेशन हमने कमेटीज में, पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटीज में पास की, ऑपोजिशन ने मिलकर पास की. हमें तरीका कार से प्रॉब्लम थी, बिकॉज बुलडोज करना और जो आप बात करें कि कंसेंसस बिल्ड करना, उसके साथ एंगेज करना, वो सब कुछ नहीं हुआ. बट let bygones be bygones. I think Pakistan should be forward looking, Pakistan should be focused, Pakistan should have all of government approach, Pakistan should have all of nation approach, and that's what I'm saying. Let's not bog ourselves down in these unnecessary debates. They're unnecessary. If anything, they don't bring any good. So मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि मैं सिर्फ क्रेडिट अगर दूंगी तो अपनी टीम को दूंगी, और टीम अपनी जगह कहती है पाकिस्तान की टीम, जैसे क्योंकि हम गवर्नमेंट रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं. वी आर रिप्रेजेंटिंग द स्टेट ऑफ पाकिस्तान राइट नाउ. So I would give credit to every member of the team, those who are celebrated, who are visible in front of you, and those who are not, who are in the background. And perhaps the ones in the background do much more work than the ones that are visible. So I would really, I know how much work has gone into it by various agencies, by various entities. So I think we need to, and having said that, I still need to say, let's not be overly celebratory right now, but we still have the process has started, but अभी the on-site visit is due, and ये करने के बाद भी हमारी जर्नी तो कंटिन्यू करेगी. This strengthening of legislation, strengthening of administration will continue.
Adil sir, followed by Anas.
Thank you. This is Adil Bashir from Rose News. The first question is, do you think that there was a political motivation for keeping Pakistan on the grey list for such a long time? The other one was there any issue in our foreign policy due to which Pakistan was placed on the grey list? Were we not able to present our case before FATF in an effective manner? Thank you.
Again, I will desist from commenting on anything which casts a negative light on any effort that has been done at all. So I will skip your last question and come to your first question. Was Pakistan's grey listing in any way political? As I said, we have always emphasized that FATF must remain apolitical in its conduct, because it's an important body, it's actually an important work to do. However, we do know that there were certain countries involved, a certain singular country at least that we all can name and emphasize, which has always tried to make this process a political one, and which has been a spanner in the wheels. And to realize that certain countries, in the presence of that certain country, we got this through consensus, is an important point. So we had to be more white than others, for sure. But that means that just shows you how much, meaning how much we have attained, how much we have achieved.
My question for you that upon the conclusion of the February 2019 plenary, we saw a statement coming in from the FATF that specified that Pakistan needs to take action, particularly on counter-terror financing against 34 individuals of 8 organizations of concern, and those organizations were named namely Al-Qaeda, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jamaat-ul-Dawa, Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan, the Haqqani Network. Now my question is very specific. What has Pakistan done against these 34 individuals as specified by the FATF to convince them, number one? Number two, yesterday we saw in the press conference by the FATF president that they called for an irreversible action. So what is Pakistan going to do ahead of the visit, of the on-site visit, to convince them that yes, this action is irreversible? Thank you.
Okay, let's get the facts straight. Okay? Pakistan doesn't need to do anything from now until on-site visit. What Pakistan needs to do is to prepare itself for an on-site visit, which is going to be technical evaluation of all the claims that Pakistan has made, which have been accepted. As I said, all action plan items have been ticked off, largely addressed, nothing is pending on behalf, on Pakistan to do. No actions are pending on Pakistan to do. Now when it comes to the specifics of, clearly we did enough to get a green light on this, right? That we take all the boxes. And within that context, I just want to say that let's be clear. I think when it comes to the prosecution, going after people, anyone who's involved in terrorism financing, that's an agenda that Pakistan has also. It's a national agenda also. So when does the country do well? The country is able to do well within the international framework when its domestic agenda and international agenda is aligned. I feel it is aligned. So we're not doing anything for anyone. We're doing it for Pakistan, and in the process, we're ensuring that our economy also gets boosted, because no country, and this other question was asked to me in Berlin also, no country would ever like to be on the green list. It has repercussions, it has ramifications, and no country would choose to remain on the green list.
One question today, Kamran, followed by
My name is Kamran Raja, and I have two questions. Recently, Pakistan got good news from FATF, and which leads Pakistan to exit from the FATF grey list. And second, my question is, do you see the role of any specific political party or institution in completing our FATF action plans? And my second question is that, what actions have been taken to enable our institutions to meet the future challenges in the anti-money laundering and combating financial terrorism?
I think I understand your last question, second question. What actions are going to be taken?
Yes.
As I
For
said,
institutions, for anti-money laundering and for combating financial terrorism. What actions?
okay. Again, I think it's less about specific actions and more about the framework that is there, right? As I said, there were lots of issues that, there was a lot of work that went into it. If you look at the list of amendments and new legislation that we had to do, it's actually like 30 plus altogether. Some at the provincial level, some at the national level, some at various levels. Now, you can't just do legislation. You also have to make sure that the legislation is implementable. For that, you have to work on the institutions that are going to implement it, create different frameworks, create different bodies. So this has been a very intensive process. I think what we have now is a good body of work, of legislation and institutional strengthening that exists for us to have a speed of our own. And as I mentioned to you earlier, what we would want is, what is an ideal scenario for Pakistan? That Pakistan gets out of the vagaries of reporting to an international agency and gets into reporting to its own system and working within its own legal framework to achieve what we consider to be national priorities also. As I said, they're aligned over here. They're not counter to our national priorities in any way. After any institution, again, I said it at the very outset, I think in the last 20 years of having been in this space, there's one thing that I've learned: there's no limit to what you can achieve if you don't get it executed. As on behalf of the Foreign Office of Pakistan, the nation, many institutions, pretty much when we say national consensus, we are referring to the parliament, we are referring to everyone. We are saying this is a Pakistan way. We let it remain a Pakistan way.
Zishan, Uday.
Srishant Patil from PTV News. India has been leaking reports of better in violation of better rules. Has Pakistan raised this issue with better, and secondly, what lessons have been learned by Pakistan during last 4 years in this process?
Okay, the second question can take over day. I think we learned many lessons, and the one perhaps the biggest lesson that we learned is that it is wise to ensure. For instance, the fact of in interacting with people, I said the message from Pakistan is never again. That's the lesson learned. Never again will we want to be part of any list which requires us to divert our attention from our national, requirements to just reporting requirements. So never again is the lesson that we learned. That we never want to slip into this again. That's the lesson. On confidentiality rules, what do you think is done? So of course we did. And within that context, I have to say I feel covered some ground, because I think it is a very, again, why are we so respectful of this? Why are we so respectful of the fact that we don't share information which is not meant to be shared? Because there are very strong confidentiality rules. Factors takes it very, very seriously. So you're actually endangering the credibility of the country when you do that. Now, that certain country that you mentioned has openly been doing it, okay, and has been openly caught doing it. There is obviously a great deal of, I think, understanding amongst other members that is incorrect and should not happen. But even within that context, I say, let's concentrate on the positive, let's concentrate on what we've been able to do, and that is an area that we are taking care of, that we are taking up with everyone, that we are raising at every forum.
First one, Shabir.
So, as we know that, Shabir Wagner from BT World, as we know that different ministries play a role in this whole process. So what role Ministry of Foreign Affairs has played during Pakistan's relisting, and also now how these responsibilities has changed with the delegation of all the responsibilities on you as Minister of State being in charge.
Well, how that responsibility? I think Ministry of Foreign Affairs has actually been playing a role even when its Minister or Minister of State was not leading the National State Committee. I think most of you might be very well aware of it. We were playing a critical role throughout this process in the last 4 years. The Ministry was actually housing all the major, or the lead agency in all the major interactions. Sometimes, like many of us, going beyond the call of duty. I know our DGCT and different people have taken that role, and the one who's currently there, all the officers within that team. I'm actually very, very impressed when I get any briefing from them, when I see them work, and knowing how much hard work they put in and how ahead of the curve they are. So, to me, obviously, this ministry has played a pivotal role in the strategic planning, in the interagency work, in the interprovincial coordination sometimes having to go down to, I don't want to go into the details, but allow me to say that, yes, we have played a critical role. We will continue to play in a very, a critical or a crucial role. And as I said, I think it's very important. It's exceptionally important that we recognize everyone's effort in this. This could not have been done by any single entity, ministry, institution, foreign affairs, anyone. Had you said, we will take care of anything, virtually impossible to do it. So yes, we've been playing a critical role, and inshallah we will continue.
Question from the gentleman in the first row, followed by Mr. Bracha in the last row.
Well, we were watching this legislation work in the context of FATF, and then there was an institutional format that was coming. And I personally saw that there was some policy reluctance and capacity deficiency. What do you think about it?
Policy reluctance and capacity deficiency. Again, policy reluctance and capacity deficiency are part of that. right? And you always keep on wanting to strengthen the deficiencies that exist. When I say that we are now not only comparable to international standards, but ahead of international standards. So if you look at overall kind of recommendations and where Pakistan stands and where some of the developed countries stand, you will be shocked. We are ahead of the curve in many ways. Now the challenge for us is to continue with this momentum, inshallah, even after we are out of this process. That is the challenge for Pakistan, and that is also the concern that is being raised. And for that, institutionalization of this whole process is exceptionally important. So I think from now onwards, we have to strengthen the institutions whose core responsibility, GC साहब यहाँ बैठे हैं, जिनकी core responsibility इस process को आगे लेके जाना होगा. And by the way, in answer to that question, obviously we can't miss out the foreign affairs, because I think we were doing so much which was not our core role, that I mentioned all of that, and not mentioned the intensive diplomatic work that we had to do at the level of the foreign minister also. Consistently, persistently, every interaction that we have, every chapter. And this diplomatic work happens from top down, with all of government approach. So I think the role of the diplomatic outreach that we did is quite substantial. I would weigh on it very heavily, because you can have a very good case, but you also have to present the good case in a good way. I think we can.
Thank you, Madam, for MOS. Glad to find you back in the leadership role of this ministry. When we say, जब हम ये कहते हैं कि on-site inspection के लिए टीम आएगी, वो क्या देखने आएंगे? क्या जेलों में बंद लोगों को देखने आएंगे कि वाकई वो बंद हैं, या कोई ऐसा स्ट्रक्चर खड़ा है जिसको आपकी हुकूमत ने पेपर में या पाकिस्तान की रियासत ने पेपर में डिसमेंटल किया है, क्या वो देखने आएंगे? Secondly, since it's a matter of counter-terrorism, whether there was any concern about ongoing talks in Kabul or Peshawar with the TTP person, because the ultimate goal is to fight out terrorist entities, not to negotiate with them. Thank you.
Sure. Interesting questions. On the second question, I will just say before, as you know, FATF is supposed to be completely technical body, right? Once you go into, through a process, once you're nominated to be registered, there is a process that you follow and there is an action plan given, and that action plan is quite specific to what needs to be done. So, the second question, yours, is not right, because this is obviously not part of any of the action plan at all. This is an internal matter for Pakistan, I think, and this is obviously has no bearing on the work that we did. और ये आपने जो पूछा क्या देखना है, I think देखिए मैंने पहले बहुत वजाहत में कहा, और मैं ये वजाहत भी करी हूँ और सच्चाई भी कह रही हूँ कि वो ये देखने आएंगे कि जो चीज़ें हमने रिपोर्ट की हैं कि ये हम लेजिस्लेशन कर चुके हैं, ये हम बॉडी बना चुके हैं, फैक्टर सेक्रेटेरिएट है, ऑपरेट करता है, उसके नीचे और लोग ऑपरेट करते हैं, इंटर प्रोविंशियल कोऑर्डिनेशन कैसे होती है, नेशनल एंड प्रोविंशियल की कोऑर्डिनेशन के लिए कौन सी बॉडी है, नेशनल स्टीयरिंग कमेटी का क्या काम है, वर्किंग ग्रुप का क्या काम है, कौन सी एजेंसी क्या क्या कर रही है, ये सब कुछ एक टेक्निकल इवैल्यूएशन, ऑन-साइट इवैल्यूएशन में देखी जाएगी. तो इसमें कोई रॉकेट साइंस भी नहीं है, उभाम भी नहीं है, ढकी चुकी बात भी नहीं है. लेकिन अगर हम बहुत डिटेल में ये सब कुछ नहीं जानना चाहेंगे, वो इसलिए नहीं जानना चाहेंगे बिकॉज उनका एक टेक्निकल काम है. अगर उसके आगे पीछे बहुत सियासत राइट हो जाए, मैं यह बार बार दो अल्फाज में कह रही हूँ, उसने पाकिस्तान को हार्म किया है. और urge to quickly share the news or to be the winner in giving you the news has always harmed us. Okay, so इनके काम को हमने उनको स्पेस देनी है और उनको ये कंफर्ट प्रोवाइड करना है कि आप अपना काम आराम से कर सकेंगे. यहाँ पे हमारी बहुत कोशिश होगी कि हम उनका काम आराम से सुकून से उनको एक टेक्निकल तरीके से हैंडल होता जाए और किसी तरीके से पोलिटिसाइज ना किया जाए. और आप लोग ये सारे चीज समझें कि हमारे इंटरेस्ट में है कि ये टाइम पे हो जाए. इस वक्त अगर हमारे सामने कोई गोल है, कोई ऑब्जेक्टिव है जिसके ऊपर टाइमलाइन है, वो ये है कि हम अक्टूबर 2022 की जनवरी से पहले ये तमाम प्रोसेस खत्म कर लें. दैट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी एन इजी टास्क. इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी एन इम्पॉसिबल टास्क आल्सो, बट इट विल रिक्वायर सम हार्ड वर्क एंड सम क्वाइट, sometimes diplomacy, sometimes quite hard work at the technical level. So we are very keen to see this process through quietly. I am emphasizing that word, quietly.
Sir, David Siddiqui and the gentleman on your right, both of you, one after the other.
Thank you, this is Naresh Sharif from Dawn News. Well, there are reports that some friendly countries of Pakistan have helped to get Pakistan out of crisis. Your comments, please.
Okay, you know, I will say this with a lot of confidence that friendly countries, when I mentioned to you diplomatic outreach, that's always there. Diplomatic outreach, say, but diplomatic outreach, please say, you know, I want to emphasize it. Diplomatic outreach for one possibility could be, oh, Pakistan is not able to do its work, Pakistan has not done anything on its action plan, but please help us. Versus diplomatic outreach, we have not only honored all of our commitments, we have overperformed, we have not only met the timelines, we have outperformed the timelines, we have done it ahead of time. So now that friendly countries' assistance, in some ways, is an assistance that we deserve. So,
Can you name them?
Nick, I'm not going to name them because I think we know who are the friendly countries. All I'm saying is Pakistan has deserved this. Please, I want you to, completely. Yes, we always reach out to many friendly countries, but I want to emphasize this, that Pakistan has earned this process. The start of the end is something that Pakistan has earned through its shared hard work, through consistent, persistent work, and through across the different strains of government, national approach to problem solving. So we have really earned this place. And diplomatic outreach is obviously very important because जो आप बात कर रहे थे पहले कि political हो जाता है कभी-कभी, हमने उसको political नहीं होने दिया, अक्सर ये समझते हैं। हमने किसी एक मुल्क को इस पूरे प्रोसेस को political नहीं होने दिया और उसके लिए हमने बहुत सारे friendly countries के साथ engagement, बहुत intensive engagement करती है। At every level, I mentioned, and even at the foreign minister level, at every level.
My name is Abdul Sattar. I'm from NPR, National Public Radio of Iran. Pakistan has really worked hard to ensure that it comes out of that list. But do you think turning a blind eye allegedly or permitting groups like Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, Defense by Sahaba and some other extremist groups to roam about the country carrying out hate mongering against religious and sectarian minorities and trying to harm Pakistan's relation with important countries that are a part of the European Union that also play an important role in FATF could pose any challenge, or do you think it is purely internal issue of Pakistan?
Nothing remains an internal issue when it has problematic repercussions, right? But as I said at the very outset, and I think I would like to limit myself to that what is the lesson learned for us? The lesson learned is never again. Not for the sake of others, but for the sake of ourselves. Pakistan also have a very different reputation than the one that we walked ourselves down for many decades. We need to move away from that, and we have happily started that trajectory. I think the start of the trajectory, frankly speaking, was in 2008 after, we decided that yes, you can talk, but if talk fails, then you have to do something about it, right? So I'm quite confident, inshallah, that if we do not bicker, do not let this momentum go away, we should very clearly be on the trajectory of our way out, and again, as I said, never again. Never go back to the same place, never make the same mistakes again.
Last row, sir.
Sir, from Geo one question.
चंगेज खान जलोन मुंशी खैबर न्यूज से 22 करोड़ आवाम जो थी वो आपकी मुंतजिर थी मैडम मिनिस्टर के। कल जिस वक्त आपकी वीडियो वायरल हुई तो दफ्तर खाजा ने उसे फौरी तौर पे आगे चलाया, जिसकी वजह से सांसें जो थी वो बहाल हुई 22 करोड़ आवाम की जब आपने ये खुशखबरी सुनाई। अब आपसे सवाल ये है कि जैसा कि अभी आपने अपनी स्टेटमेंट में भी फरमाया कि लेजिस्लेशन या जितने मामला हैं वो सारे हमारे स्मूथली हो रहे हैं, चाहे मैशत है चाहे इंसानियत भूख है। हमारे पड़ोस में एक ऐसा मुल्क है जिसने इंडिया कश्मीर पे कब्जा किया हुआ है, कभी वो PLA की सूरत में हम पे हमलावर होता है, कभी TTP की सूरत में, कभी तरकोशन जादे की सूरत। क्या FATF को वहाँ कुछ भी नहीं नजर आता? कभी हिंदुस्तान के अंदर जो है वो जो मुसलमानों का कत्लेआम हो रहा है, उनकी अमलाक दिलाई जा रही है, वहाँ उनको कुछ नजर नहीं आता। एक पाकिस्तान है जिसमें सब कुछ स्मूथली चल रहा है, कोई भी हुकूमत है वो जमहूरी हुकूमत जमहूरी तरीके से अपना काम कर रही है, लेकिन हम ही क्यों उनको खटकते हैं कि 22 करोड़ आवाम जो थी कल उनकी सांसें ऊपर नीचे लटकी हुई थी। जो ही आपका ये पैगाम आया
तो हमें सुकून हुआ जबकि वहाँ पे शायद 1 अरब से भी ज्यादा वहाँ है, लेकिन उन्हें कोई परवाह नहीं है, ना उनको है ना मोदी को है। जी प्लीज, थैंक यू।
ठीक है, तो बेसिकली देखिए आपने बिल्कुल जो कहा उससे मैं बिल्कुल इख्तिलाफ नहीं कर सकती, और जैसे मैंने पहले कहा हम ये चीज़ बार बार कहते हैं, और मुझे ये कहने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है कि पाकिस्तान के ऊपर पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर बढ़े। पाकिस्तान के ऊपर जो पाकिस्तान का इलोंगेटेड प्रोसेस रहा, जो पाकिस्तान से एक्सपेक्टेशन स्काई हाई थी, उन पे यकीनन पॉलिटिकल एंगल उसका यकीनन था, ठीक है। और आपने डिप्लोमेटिक इंगेजमेंट करके पॉलिटिकल एंगल को न्यूट्रलाइज करने की कोशिश की, बिकॉज दूसरी तरफ एक मुल्क अगर बहुत इंटेंसिव आपके खिलाफ बनाए कैंपेन बनाए तो उसको आपको करना पड़ता है। ये फैक्टर का जो तरीका है उसमें म्यूचुअल इवैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट MER रिपोर्ट जिसको कहते हैं, वो इंडिया की क्यू है 2022 में। हर मुल्क की म्यूचुअल इवैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट हर पूरे महीनों सालों बाद होती है, और इंडिया की क्यू है 2023 में। सो वी वुड ऑब्वियसली हम ये चीज़ को एम्फसाइज करते रहे हैं कि अगर यहाँ पे फेवरेट्स हों या कई मुल्कों पे ज़्यादा नुक्ताचीनी किए जाए और कई मुल्कों को बिल्कुल ना देखा जाए, तो उसमें बहुत सा प्रॉब्लम आती है और क्रेडिबिलिटी इसकी खत्म हो जाती है। तो आप पार्शियली एग्रीइंग विद व्हाट यू सेइंग, और आपका जो आपने FATF का पूछा, तो मैं आपको ये बता दूं कि 2023 में उनकी रिपोर्ट थी FATF में।
Thank you, ma'am. This is Zargun Shah from here, on this side. Zargun Shah from Geotelevision. मैम, एक तो हमारे जो जनरल पाकिस्तानी पब्लिक है, जो व्यूअर्स हैं, आपको सुन रहे हैं, उनके लिए ये बता दीजिए, उनके अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए कि ग्रैंड लिस्ट से निकलने के बाद फौरी पाकिस्तान को फवायद क्या होंगे, इसके बेनिफिट्स क्या होंगे। और दूसरा, इफ यू लाइक टू स्पीक, इट इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू FATF, इट इज अ डिफरेंट पर्सन, बट इफ यू लाइक टू स्पीक, what is the update with you vis-a-vis the return of General Pervez Musharraf? Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have any update on the last question. दूसरा आपने पूछा फवायद का, मैं 2 चीज़ें आपने मौका दिया, मैं 2 चीज़ें एम्फसाइज करना चाहूँगी, क्योंकि यहाँ पे दोनों चीज़ों से हमें रेज करना है। ये कहना कि जी बहुत कुछ हो गया, लेट्स सेलिब्रेट, उससे भी रेज करना है, बिकॉज अभी हम प्रोसेस में हैं, और ये कहना कि जी हमने तो कहा था ग्रेडेड से निकल आएंगे, ग्रेडेड से तो निकले नहीं, ये भी गलत है, राइट। क्योंकि हर चीज़ का एक प्रोसीजर होता है, ग्रेडेड से डरने का भी एक प्रोसीजर होता है, ग्रेडेड से निकलने का भी प्रोसीजर होता है। इस वक्त हमने ग्रेडेड से निकलने का प्रोसीजर का पहला और इंशाल्लाह आखिरी मरहला शुरू कर दिया, ठीक है। बट आप ग्रेडेड से इस मरहले के बगैर नहीं निकल सकते, कोई मुल्क कभी भी नहीं निकला, ये एक प्रोसीजरल रिक्वायरमेंट है, और डलने की भी बहुत सारी प्रोसीजरल रिक्वायरमेंट निकलने की हैं। उससे फवायद क्या होंगे, देखें जब एक मुल्क ग्रेडेड में होता है तो वो हर चीज़ को आप चाहते हैं कि आप फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट को अट्रैक्ट करें, आप चाहते हैं आप ट्रेड को अट्रैक्ट करें, आप चाहते हैं आप इस मुल्क में की रेपुटेशन बनाएं कि इसके फाइनेंशियल रेगुलेटरी सिस्टम स्ट्रॉन्ग है, इसमें लॉ सही तरह चलती है। ग्रेडेड में होना उस सब का ऑपोजिट मैसेज देता है इन्वेस्टर्स को, ट्रेडर्स को, जो लोग इस मुल्क में आना चाहते हैं, जो लोग इस मुल्क में फ्यूचर में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं। तो ग्रेडेड से निकलने के बाद एकदम आपके दरवाजे समझे खुल जाते हैं, ओके। तो आप एक रिस्पॉन्सिबल इकोनॉमिक फ्रेमवर्क का जो अभी भी हम हिस्सा है, लेकिन इसमें निकलने के बाद एकदम एक पॉजिटिव न्यूज जाती है, पॉजिटिव लोग जो कल को FDI लेके आना चाहते हैं, पाकिस्तान के साथ ट्रेड करना चाहते हैं, पाकिस्तान के साथ एंगेज करना चाहते हैं, पाकिस्तान के साथ कोई MOU साइन करना चाहते हैं, पाकिस्तान के प्राइवेट सेक्टर को फायदा होगा। पाकिस्तान के प्राइवेट सेक्टर टू प्राइवेट सेक्टर अगर एक कोई ग्रेडेड में हो तो लोग झिझकते हैं और सोचते हैं पहले वंस वी गेट आउट ऑफ इट, एंड क्योंकि पाकिस्तान की प्रोसेस इतना प्रोट्रैक्टेड, इतना लंबा रहा है, इतना लोगों को पॉलिटिकली भी हो गया, तो लोगों को इतनी अवेयरनेस इसके बारे में, आई थिंक इट विल हैव अ वेरी गुड इम्पैक्ट इंशाल्लाह। एंड उसको तक वी वुड होप कि मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी भी पूरी तरह मुल्क में रिटर्न कर जाए, तो द टू टुगेदर विल बी very good, will go well, inshallah.
Gentlemen on the left of Mr. Zargun Shah and followed by Mr. Khalid at the back.
मैं नुमान शाह डेली अस्पताल से। मैडम ये बताएं कि जो पाकिस्तान के बैंक ग्रुप को भी दायरे में आ चुके हैं, कौमी सियासत में हिस्सा ले रहे हैं, क्या फैटअप के जो वक्त हमारा दौरा कर रहा है उससे पहले उन्हें दोबारा बैन किया जाएगा, फंसे धंधान डाला जाएगा, उन्हें कौमी दायरे में रहने किया जाएगा?
देखिए मैंने राजा साहब की सवाल के जवाब ये कहा था, कई चीज़ें जो हमें नेशनल रिक्वायरमेंट के मुताबिक करनी चाहिए। जहाँ तक फैक्टर की रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं, 27 items of 2018, 7 items, action plan items of 2021 have all been ticked off. हमने उन सब पे अपने जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट्स थी वो पूरी करनी है और यूनानिमसली इसकी रिकमेंडेशन फैक्टर के फोरम पे आई। तो इनका और उनका ताल्लुक इस वक्त नहीं है।
मैडम हालांकि मोदी एक्सप्रेस टीवी से मैडम टेरर फाइनेंसिंग के हवाले से 27 पॉइंट थे और इस हवाले से DHQ में भी एक सेल बनाया गया था जो DGMOs की तरफ से बनाया गया था। आप क्या समझती हैं कि उसमें उस सेल का क्या किरदार रहा और आप क्या समझती हैं कि उस सेल के बाद पाकिस्तान में इसके रीजन में जो टेररिज्म है उसमें भी कमी क्या होगी?
देखिए ये जो तमाम इस तरह के बहुत सारे वर्किंग ग्रुप, स्टीयरिंग कमेटी, सेल्स इस पूरे प्रोसेस को आगे लेके जाने के लिए गए और हर किसी ने अपना भरपूर काम किया और जिनका आप मेंशन करें उन्होंने भी बहुत ज़्यादा इंटेंसिव इस पे काम किया। तो जैसे मैंने बार बार कहा, लेट दिस बी समथिंग दैट वी कैन, जो जर्नी हमने की है, इट्स बीन अ डिफिकल्ट जर्नी, इट्स बीन अ टीडियस जर्नी, बट everybody has been contributed to it. So I would really want to share that credit with everyone who has played an active role, and absolutely the cell has been vital and very played a very important role in this. So have many other working groups, so has the steering committee. So there's a wide array of institutions, of entities, of ministries, of sub-ministries, of provincial governments, of police stations, etc., who have all contributed to enabling this to happen.
Sir, you have a question? Yes. Sir, followed by Madam at the back.
Thank you, Salaam जी। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये मेरा सवाल है कि फैटर का जो ये पूरा प्रोसीजर का काफी अच्छे चल रहा है, तो क्या जो आप पिछली गवर्नमेंट को इसका क्रेडिट देगी जो 3 साल 4 साल से जिस पर एफर्ट हो रही थी? और दूसरा मेरे को सवाल ये है कि कब तक जो है फैटर की टीम पाकिस्तान का जो है दौरा खत्म हो गया?
अच्छा, जब ये हो रहा था ना आपकी भी मुझे लग रहा था कि हमारा कंसर्न फैटर से कम है और क्रेडिट मार्केट में ज्यादा है, एकदम बहुत ज्यादा क्रेडिट की ये डिमांड होती। So we are giving credit, as I said, to anyone who seeks it and to everyone, and deservedly for it. Okay, because as I said, this is not a certain political party's agenda. This is Pakistan's agenda, and for us, we have to remain mature about it. We don't react to immaturity with immaturity. We have to remain mature about it. For us, it will be a win-win if everybody considers they have stakes in this. So indeed, the previous government has stakes in this. We hope that every political party will continue to have stakes in enabling this to be a seamless process and one that doesn't end with the white listing of Pakistan. I think it's also important to emphasize that, because the white listing will take us out of the requirements of FATF, but our own requirements must still be there. And the momentum that we gain, it's exceptionally beginning. What happens? A country gets an opportunity. You can either grab that opportunity and run with it and become a runner, meaning become a leader within that, or you can put all of that hard work to waste. So I would hope that Pakistan chooses to run with that momentum, to continue to harness that and to continue to build on it. For instance, I look at it like this. This has given us a very good foundation. Just the blocks होते हैं, Lego blocks, it's given us a very good foundation. Now, inshallah, as we move out of the red list into the white list, we must keep on building on the blocks, vertically, horizontally, to strengthen it. Foundation is great, but it's for strengthening the culture.
Madam Sumara.
Thank you very much. Respected MOS, my question would be regarding this information campaigns initiated by India time to time. And we have been seeing that जो भी वो कहना चाहते हैं वो सबसे पहले अपनी न्यूज़ और मीडिया आउटलेट्स से जरूर कनेक्ट करते हैं, and without evidence they go on and it's never a big issue for them to once again resurrect kind of Pulwama, Uri, Pathankot type के issues और बालाकोट के लिए जैसे surgical strikes का वो करते हैं. These things matter a lot when we are building up case against Pakistan कि पाकिस्तान एक terrorist haven है, पाकिस्तान terrorist को nurture करता है. Do we have any roadmap since we have gone long way in removing our name from grey list? क्या हम information को counter करने के लिए पाकिस्तान as a country, as a state, कुछ इसके ऊपर भी काम चल रहा है हमारा, as we have many ministries and steering committees and cells. So, do we have anything on our plans and cards? Thank you very much.
So I would let the Foreign Secretary answer this because I think that we had intensive work in this and I would really want you to.
Thank you. I just said that ever since the Info Lab revelations came out, Pakistan took this issue at the international level, both in Geneva and New York. They are working closely with the United Nations and very soon we will have a very important meeting taking place with the title of Friends of the UN on the Disinformation Campaign. This is being spearheaded by our mission in New York and we will see that positive outcomes.
When is the meeting going to happen?
Expecting it next week. Sure.
Ali? Last question.
ये अली हुसैन फ्रॉम बिजनेस रिकॉर्डर। मैडम, जब क्रेडिट की बात आती है तो ऐसा लगता है कि सबने अपना अपना क्रेडिट ले लिया सिवाय करंट गवर्नमेंट की। तो आपकी जो करंट जो गवर्नमेंट में जो पार्टीज हैं इनके ऊपर एक तनकीद ये भी की गई कि जब वो ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ द पैसेज ऑफ एफएटीएफ रिलेटेड बिल्स तो नैब लॉज को उसके साथ लिंक किया गया था। तो इस हवाले से क्या आप बताना चाहेंगे? और दूसरी बात ये कि जो टेक्निकल टीम की विजिट है वो नेक्स्ट मंथ सुनने में आ रहा है, वो नेक्स्ट मंथ आ रहा है।
जी ना बोल से अगर बात की जाता है कि पाकिस्तान पहले भी एफएटीएफ में रहा, वाइल आईआईसी का बड़े बड़े दावे किए कि दोबारा अंदर चला गया। अब ये चाहते हैं कि एक तरफ हम पीडीए के साथ उनको असिस्टेंस फार्म देने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं इंसानियत के बैठने के लिए अफगानिस्तान में तरीके तालिबान अफगानिस्तान, जिसका एक बैंड आउटफिट हकानी नेटवर्क पार्ट है, ऑफिशियल पोजीशन भी रखते हैं खानी साहब। तो क्या हमारे इस तरह के एक्शन हमारे आइंदा हमारे लिए मसाइल पैदा नहीं करेंगे? शुक्रिया।
Let me try and understand this better. Are you saying that because the state of Pakistan continues to have ties with the state of Afghanistan, no matter who is in government over there, that will go against us? Yes, every state is continuing to have ties at one level or the other. Many European countries will start already have embassies there, and state-to-state ties are state-to-state ties. You cannot choose. You can choose who to elect, who to have as government within your own territorial boundaries. Outside of your own territorial boundaries, you have to have state-to-state relations. So I don't think that is by any way impinging upon our future course of action with factors in any way possible. So let me just, categorically let you know that. On the issue, देखिए जो आपने करंट गवर्नमेंट के बारे में बताना, अगर आप ये कह रहे हैं हर किसने करंट लिया, करंट गवर्नमेंट ने लिया, ये मेरे लिए इससे बड़ी बेहतर खबर कोई नहीं है। बिकॉज व्हाट दैट शोज इज कि हमारा काम क्रेडिट लेना नहीं है, हमारा काम मुल्क को जो भी मुश्किलें पेश आए या मुल्क के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट करना है। हम गवर्नमेंट हैं, हमें आदत पड़ गई कि गवर्नमेंट भी काफी रिस्पॉन्सिबली एक्ट करते हैं। हम इस वक्त स्टेट ऑफ पाकिस्तान को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं और स्टेट ऑफ पाकिस्तान को क्रेडिट अपने लिए काम करने के लिए करना चाहिए। सो आई वांट टू से दिस वेरी कैटेगोरिकली एंड टू से कि हम करके वी आर वेरी कीन दैट पीपल शुड शेयर द क्रेडिट बिकॉज़ देन दे आर स्टेक होल्डर्स एंड देन एज वी गो इन ऑन द प्रोसेस वी वुड होप कि अगर और कोई हमें और कोई इसको बनी, लेकिन अपनी रजिस्ट्रेशन तो बात करनी पड़ेगी और आप देखेंगे कि इस पे जो भी काम होगा इंशाल्लाह कंसेंसस से होगा। और मैं इस चीज को वी एंडिंग दिस आई वुड लाइक टू जस्ट एम्फसाइज दैट नथिंग वर्क्स बेटर। जो आप कह रहे थे ना पॉलिटिसाइजेशन होती है पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ सेक्टर बनाए हुए विमान, सो नथिंग वर्क्स बेटर इन एंगेजिंग विद द वर्ल्ड देन एट द प्लेटफॉर्म ऑफ नेशनल कंसेंसस। Nothing gives more confidence to the international community on the direction of Pakistan than areas, decisions, steps that are taken with national consensus. We underestimate the importance of that. तो बिल्कुल हम पाकिस्तान का वो इमेज नहीं देना चाह रहे दुनिया को और इसमें आई थिंक हमने कोशिश की कि हम अपने एक्शन से ये प्रूव करें कि मैच्योर हैंडलिंग किस तरह होती है। We are absolutely very keen of if everyone has been a stakeholder in this process. And let's just say that this is really a...
The visit.
Huh?
On the visit.
On...
technical team.
on the visit, okay. उसमें मैंने देखिए पहले कहा है, हमें आपसे गुजारिश होगी और I think asking you to sort of engage with everyone to, we will really have to keep that quite outside of and not ask too many questions and not try and do any rai on it, it will harm the country. I think we can all agree that we are not here through our jobs to make any or create any complications for the country. आपने प्लीज I want to end by saying आपने देखा होगा हमने ये प्रोसेस डिस्प्लिनरी को भी बहुत एहतियात के साथ हैंडल किया. मेरे नज़र में उसके नताइज अच्छे निकले. एहतियात के नताइज अच्छे निकले. एहतियात और मैच्योरिटी के नताइज हमेशा अच्छे निकलते हैं. तो हम कोशिश करेंगे, जैसे मैंने कहा, we can pat ourselves on the back, but we are not at a point where we can completely congratulate ourselves. We still have a journey. We have the last final step inshallah left, and we would want to do it with maturity, with sense of purpose, and complete focus. Thank you.